I am, Mayor, yes.
All right, let's start recording. And I'd like to call our regular city council meeting to order for Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. Would everyone please join me, unmute, and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
allegiance
to the flag
To the flag
the flag
of
of
the
United
United
States
States of America,
to the
to the
republic
republic
which
for
is
which it stands,
one
one nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and
justice
justice for all.
God. Indivisible, liberty and justice for all. I try to read your lips, Mayor, but it's not so good. We do the best we can.
We do the best we can.
Yeah.
Sylvia, roll call.
And Mayor Mays.
Here.
Council President Rosner is absent. Councilor Browse.
Here.
Councilor Garland.
Here.
Councilor Young.
Here.
Councilor Griffin.
Here.
Councilor Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. We have approval of the agenda.
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
All in favor of approving the agenda as before us, say aye.
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 Thank you, Council. We have a consent agenda with a lot of things on it this evening. 7. Item A is approval of the July 16th, 2020 City Council meeting minutes. Item B is approval of the July 21st, 2020 City Council meeting minutes. Item C is approval of the July 23rd, 2020 City Council meeting minutes. Item D is Resolution 2020-046, approving intergovernmental agreement between Washington County and the City of Sherwood to fund implementation of City of Sherwood Small Business Grant Program, Federal CARES Act funding. Item E is Resolution 2020-047, approving COVID-19 Emergency Business Assistance Program forgivable loan agreement between the State of Oregon and the City of Sherwood to fund implementation of a City of Sherwood Small Business Grant Program. And that is about the longest resolution title I recall. But then we have another one almost equally as long, item F, Resolution 2020-048, correcting Resolution 2020-040, adopting the fiscal year 2020 to 2021 budget of the City of Sherwood, making appropriations, imposing and categorizing taxes, and authorizing the city manager to take such action necessary to carry out the adopted budget. And the last item on the consent agenda is item G, Resolution 2020-049, ratifying the collective bargaining agreement with the Sherwood Police Officers Association.
I move consent.
I move consent.
Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, all 7 items, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council. Citizen comments. Sylvia, do we have any citizen comments this evening?
Mayor and Council, we do not.
Thank you, Sylvia. Item 7 is new business. We have one item under new business. And that's Resolution 2020-050, approving the explanatory statement for initiative ISHE 2020-1. Josh.
Thank you, Mayor and councilors. So as you'll recall at your last meeting, Sylvia filed the initiative petition with you, and you took no action on that. And at that time, I mentioned that the next step in the process would be for me to prepare an explanatory statement, which is what goes in the voters pamphlet, and bring that back to you for approval. This is the resolution that would approve that explanatory statement, which is attached as an exhibit to the resolution. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Josh. Any questions for Josh?
Josh, this is Sean. The only question I have is just really with kind of historical on this one here. It mentions in the explanatory statement about the 3% local tax. Now, if I recall, in 2016, that was on the ballot as well at the same time as whether to allow or whether to repeal the ban in 2016. The repeal of the ban failed. Voters voted against repealing that to keep the ban in place, but they did vote in favor of the 3% tax. Is that correct?
The tax was approved. Yes, that's correct.
And so should this November ballot measure pass this November, do we need to take any action, or is that considered on the books right now, and that 3% tax will it already be in effect for sales?
So that tax, as you mentioned, was already approved by the voters. And the way that this ballot initiative is written, it includes that language that was previously approved by the voters again, along with some additional language designating those funds for a particular purpose, for public safety purposes.
Okay.
So in essence, the voters would be reapproving what they've already approved by approving this measure. And so there would be no further action necessary as far as voter approval. We would, of course, need to take steps to implement that tax.
Sure.
Whether we're doing that internally or, as a lot of communities do, forming an intergovernmental agreement with the Department of Revenue to collect that local tax at the same time that they're collecting the state tax.
But in this instance, we don't need a
implementation.
separate ballot measure as we did in 2016.
Exactly.
Got it. Thanks for clearing that up.
So I have a question from a citizen. If it passes, the ballot measure talks about funding public safety. This person was wondering if that would include a resource officer.
So let me pull up the exact language here to see how it's phrased, but I believe that it would.
Something about the police department and public safety infrastructure capital.
Yeah, and I believe it's going to be that language about the police department that's going to get us covered there.
Okay. Thank you.
And then just to be also clear, because it wasn't until I read the explanatory statement did I make the connection that this measure only says that the 3% tax goes to the police department or public safety, whereas the state shared revenue isn't part of that, and that would still go to general fund or wherever council or budget committee chose to put it. It could still go to police and public safety if we chose to, but at this point, it's not earmarked for anything.
That is correct. And I got the language pulled up here. It says public safety is defined as any expenses associated with public safety infrastructure capital expenditures or the City of Sherwood Police Department. So covering an additional employee in the police department, by my reading of that language, would be included.
Additional question, even though the ballot measure as written earmarks money for specific purposes, is that a binding allocation forever until the voters change it again, or can a future city council, say 5 years down the road, decide they want to reallocate that spending, or does that have to go back to the voters?
Great question. So that language would appear in our city code. So in order to change that, it would be just a ordinance. So that city council approval is all that would be required to change that. Much like many state laws that adopt statutes, they can be adopted by the legislature. The only kind of restriction on that is a political one rather than a practical one.
And it's also worth noting, remember, the public safety budget is quite large. And if this is passed, a little bit of revenue will be generated, whatever that number is, $60,000, $200,000, whatever it is, covers only a portion of the public safety budget. So I cannot imagine anybody, if this is passed by the community, any reason to modify that language in the future.
Yeah, the likely revenue from this would never outstrip the total spending of the public safety budget, so it'd become moot.
Right. I mean, it might be potentially 10%, 5%. It's a tiny amount in things. But every dollar counts, as we all know. Other questions for Josh? Or comments about the resolution?
You need a motion?
That would be great if you're ready for it.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2020-050, approving the explanatory statement for initiative ISHE 2020-1.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion to approve resolution 2020-050, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, Josh. And Josh will give city manager, city attorney report.
Thank you. Yes. So Joe and I were able to connect this afternoon, and he relayed that he would like me to, during the city manager report, just to let everybody know that we extended the application deadline to August 14th for people who are interested in applying to be on the Parks Board, Cultural Arts Commission, and Library Board. And that we also have an expected vacancy coming up on the Planning Commission effective August 31st. And so we'll be advertising to be filling that position soon. And so if you are interested in serving on any of those, the Parks Board, Cultural Arts Commission, Library Board, or Planning Commission, please go to the city's website for more information, and keep in mind the August 14th deadline for the for 3 of those. That's the only item that I had.
Any questions for Josh or staff? Hearing none, great. Council announcements. Who would like to announce something?
I just have one quick, it's not really an announcement, but on the heels of what Josh was just saying about still accepting applications. So I noticed he didn't say Police Advisory Board, because we have already had 11 applications.
Wow.
So we are setting our interviews, I believe, for next week, and hopefully fill, I think it's one vacancy that I'm aware of. So 11 applicants.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'd just like to give a quick follow-up on the Planning Commission potential opening as well. So as you may know, in our last city council meeting, we added two new members to the Planning Commission. And as mentioned, we are expecting to have another opening very shortly. And the Planning Commission, I would really encourage people to apply, and particularly people who are willing to invest, the full 4-year term. The Planning Commission particularly is a place where, and Russell knows this very well, it really takes a while to get up to speed. Planning is very complex, very.
Lost you there, Doug.
Apologies. So a planning commission is very complex. There's a lot of intricate details. You don't really see a full gamut of the different scenarios, other than over a long period of time. And so, having people on that commission, we're lucky to have a few that have been on there for quite a while now. But having like experienced people on that board is very critical to really having a good outcome. So definitely want to encourage people to not to take that into consideration, and make sure that if that is a commission you're interested in, if you could, be in it for the long haul. I think that we really need to build the experience up there a little bit more. Not to say that we don't welcome new great voices, but we definitely need some people who want to be there for a while.
Well said, Doug. Doug, any other announcements that you have?
No, sir.
Great. Who else like to make an announcement?
I got a couple of quick ones.
Okay.
The Parks Board met last night. Just a couple of things from that. The draft for the Parks Master Plan is coming to the council for initial review. It'll be draft on August 18th. So that's coming up. And then it goes back to the Parks Advisory Board, and I think onto the Planning Commission after that. Also, Jason Waters, bless his heart, he gave us an update on the City Creek Trail last night, and we're at 100% of the plans being ready to take action and build, and we have a couple of snags. We have the FEMA, was it 2016 when we adopted the new FEMA map, and we had like 48 hours or something like that to do it. It was kind of ridiculous. Well, we adopted that map, and that new floodplain map didn't get. Anyway, we went back to it, and Jason found out that there is a very small gully that, if in 25 years we get the flood of the century and water backs into that, fish may hide up there, and so we have to provide an adequate fish navigational route for the fish. So instead of a small little pipe, it's going to be a slightly larger pipe, and Jason he's on top of it. But just little teeny things. There's one more right-of-way issue that Josh knows about that's potentially going to be solved in a week or so, but it's finally coming together. So, hey, Julia, I noticed Erica's not on the call or the meeting, but Julia's there. Do you happen to know how many responses we have to the housing survey?
Last I heard it was over 1,000, but I don't know what that was as of Tuesday last week for the Planning Commission meeting. So
right,
I'm not sure what the current number is.
I think it's great. It's great.
And again, do we know? And I'm interested in the ones that are from Sherwood.
Yeah, I don't know if Erica was looking into that. I'm not sure that we can specifically know where they're from, but the only people that were given the link, and we'll be able to tell to a certain extent based on the responses to some of the questions, but it went out to all the different committees and organizations and in the utility bill. So those are really the people that the information went out to, but we'll certainly try to pin it down as close as we can.
Perfect. Awesome. Yes, it's nice to have a healthy response. People might have more time at home to do such things, which is great. Right. From a response standpoint, we want people to stay busy and working, but anything else, Russell?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Sean?
Yeah, I'll keep with the theme of boards and commissions. We're going to have an opening on the Cultural Arts Commission, which is a board that I'm the liaison to currently. We've got one of our members is a 2020 high school graduate going off to college down in San Diego. So we're looking to fill that spot. And the Cultural Arts Commission has traditionally been a board that likes to keep one youth member on the board. We're not certainly restricting our outlook to a youth member, but they have proven to be very helpful to the Arts Commission in the past, being having a little bit of a younger voice. In some of their community events that the Arts Commission plans and conducts, they've been very helpful with social media. We had one earlier, I guess it was last year, when they did the Sherwood sheep Jill Drive, that they had the little wooden sheep all over. She was kind of the social media driver for that, with all the hashtags and the Instagram and all that, quite frankly, a few of the other members of the board were not quite as hip to using all of that stuff. So it would be great if there's somebody out there, some of our younger community that's in the arts world that would love to get involved in a board or commission. We'd love to have you apply and fill that vacancy, or anybody else who from Sherwood is really passionate about the arts in Sherwood. They've got a lot of plans that they're working on. The Arts Commission, they're a vibrant artsy group. They're a lot of fun. They meet once a month. It's the third Monday of every month. Generally, the meetings go between an hour to an hour and a half. It's not a massive commitment, but it is a very vital role in Sherwood, which, as we all know, is very, very heavily influenced by arts in this community. So love to have somebody join that. So apply today. That's all I've got.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Renee?
Let's see. Senior Advisory Committee will meet next week. The Senior Center continues to do wonderful programs in the situations that they've been given. We on the Library Advisory Board have some openings as well, including a youth spot. but I want to do a shout out and a congrats to Jamie Thorison for the article that was done about cuentas en el parque. So they're really doing gangbusters when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So great job. That's all I have.
Thanks, Shanae. And for me, of note, the end of this week is Oregon Mayors Association annual conference, and we're doing it virtually. So it's my first virtual conference. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes as a warm up to the League of Oregon City virtual conference later this year. With that, anything else for the good of the collective? Well, we made it a brief one. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the fantastic weather. We might get a little bit of rain on Thursday, maybe, after a few weeks of dry. I don't think it's going to be enough rain to matter in the scheme of things, but have a great week, and until we meet again, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Today.